Well, I'm very happy to be here with you this evening, and I'd like to thank Father Ehring for inviting me to be part of your St. Anne Novena again this year. I know this novena has a very long and profound history in our city and our diocese, and it's a great joy to be part of it. I am sorry, though, and I apologize that I'm here today and not on Tuesday for the Feast of St. Anne. But tomorrow, Bishop Crosby and I are leaving to go to Quebec City to participate in the papal visit. So I'm sorry that the Pope has trumped you. And since I've not learned to bilocate, to be in two places at once yet, I'm working on it, but I've not yet been able to participate. I won't be able to be here Tuesday, but I'm sure Father will take very good care of you without me here. If you remember back to last year when I was here on the Feast of St. Anne last year, Father Ehring asked me to preach on the window on the left near the back of the death of St. Joseph. And you may also remember that I seem to recall threatening him with a parish in Siberia for such a cruel gift to his bishop. So this year he was much easier on me, and he gave me a much easier window to preach on. This year the window is on my right, your left, about halfway back the church. Christ instructs his disciples. And this window, I don't know if he did this on purpose or not, but this window fits very well with today's gospel, where Jesus is asked to teach his disciples to pray. You know, in order for instruction to occur, there must be a teacher and a student. You need both for instruction to occur. But it is also true that just having a teacher and a student does not necessarily guarantee instruction will happen. You need to have a teacher who knows something. Sadly, I'm sure we have all suffered at one point of our lives with a poor teacher who maybe doesn't know what they're talking about or has no idea how to impart knowledge properly to their listeners. And I'm also sure every teacher has suffered through very inattentive students who do not want to be there and learn anything. For instruction to occur, there must be a teacher who has knowledge and has the ability to share that knowledge in a way that makes learning possible, and there must be a student who is open and willing to learn. If you don't have both of these things, then no learning happens. We know that Jesus is the perfect teacher. Not only does he know all things, but as we read again and again in the sacred scriptures, he has amazing ability to impart his knowledge in a way that all can understand. From the wisest to the most simple, they get something from the message of Jesus. The young and the elderly all can get something from the message of Jesus. The influential and the least of all peoples can all understand and learn from Jesus. So if Jesus really is this amazing teacher that he seems to be from the scriptures, then any fault or weakness in his instructing the disciples is on the part of us, the disciples. Are we open and willing students of the Lord? A moment ago, I said a student must be open and willing to learn. So are we, who are the disciples of Jesus, you wouldn't be here tonight if you were not striving to be a disciple of the Lord, are we open to his teachings? Question to ask ourselves. Am I really open to learning from Jesus? Sometimes we get the idea that we know better than the Lord, or that this particular teaching doesn't apply to me. I remember once I was a very young priest, And very young priests shouldn't have to deal with difficult things because they don't know what to do. But I had someone ask me, he was I'm going to guess, a man in his 50s. It's a guess. And he asked me, he was divorced and he had a girlfriend. And was it okay for him and his girlfriend to have relations? And I said, no, that's against the teachings of Jesus. Oh, Father, that's for young people. That doesn't apply to us who are older now. We sometimes think the teachings of Jesus don't apply to me. Jesus doesn't get my way of life. He doesn't get what I'm going through. He doesn't understand my situation. And we dismiss ourselves from his instruction. Are we really open to the teachings of Jesus? Especially those teachings of Jesus that are difficult, that are in conflict with my own opinion, in conflict with my way of life, or in conflict with the ways of the world today? Are we really open to hearing the Lord's instruction? Are we that good disciple who desires to learn from the Master? In today's gospel, Jesus tells us that we can only be forgiven if we are willing to forgive. That's a tough one, isn't it? I cannot be forgiven if I'm holding a grudge or vengeance against somebody. That's a hard one. Am I willing to hear the Lord's teaching? He tells us that we are told to pray to accept God's will in all things. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Not just when his will and my will are the same, but we are taught to pray, thy will, not my will, be done. These are hard lessons. Yes, they're very hard lessons to learn and even harder to live. Just as many of Jesus' teachings around morality, justice, care for the poor, and obedience are all hard lessons that are difficult to hear and to live. All of these hard lessons that often conflict with our worldly standards require great sacrifices in our lives. It requires great sacrifice to be that attentive and devout disciple of the Lord. Following Jesus is not for the self-centered and the self-focused, because his teachings always draw us out of ourselves in order to love and serve as he has taught us to love and serve. Still, Jesus invites us, though, to seek and to ask and to knock in order that we can learn these lessons, in order that we can become more and more that attentive and devout disciple whom he sends in the world to proclaim his good news. Disciples are taught in order to go forth and proclaim the good news. At the end of Mass, the deacon will dismiss us all, telling us to go, get out of here, and take the instruction that you have received and bring it to the world. But to bring to the world the Lord's teaching, the Lord's lessons, not our version of it, not my thoughts of what it should be, but what does the Lord actually teach us? That's what we as disciples need to bring into the world. Jesus is truly the good teacher who instructs his disciples in truth and in absolute goodness. And we are called to be his good disciples who trust in his message, who listen to his words, and who believe with all our heart that his words and only his words are the true path to salvation. And when a man is ordained a deacon, part of the ceremony is he is presented with the book of the Gospels. And as the bishop presents him the book of the Gospels, the bishop says this to the newly ordained deacon: "Receive the gospel of Christ, whose herald you have become. Believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach." These are good words for all of us who profess to believe. At baptism and at our confirmation, we were called to proclaim Christ's message, to learn from Jesus, to believe what we learn, and to live what we believe. In our window this evening, Jesus instructs his disciples. Today, he continues to instruct us so that we today may truly be his disciples. May we be truly open to his instruction in order that we can fulfill this role as his disciples, as proclaimers of his truth, as people who live his truth in our own day, in our own time.